Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey looks like the ultimate cinematic adventure. On the surface, it's everything you expect from an epic mythology film. Gods, monsters, legendary battles, impossible journeys, and one of the most famous heroes in history trying to return home. But if you know Nolan's filmmaking, you know that the spectacle is rarely the point. The spectacle is a vehicle. The real story is always about human beings, their choices, and the consequences those choices create. And that's why The Odyssey feels like such a perfect Christopher Nolan story. Nolan himself says that this is a story he's been carrying around for years. He explained that The Odyssey felt like a gap in the culture, a story that has not yet been explored on this scale. That's important because Nolan is not simply adapting a famous myth because it's recognizable. He's attracted to the emotional questions underneath it. And these are the same questions he's returned to throughout his career. And can someone truly ever escape the past? This is not just a film about whether Odysseus can survive his journey home. It's about whether a person can ever truly return home after being completely changed by war, trauma, and survival. The question Nolan is asking is, when you achieve something truly extraordinary, what does it cost the people who had to live through the decisions and the consequences? Nolan has spent his entire career exploring that idea. In The Prestige, ambition destroys relationships. In The Dark Knight, Batman's attempt to protect Gotham creates consequences he cannot control. In Inception, Cobb's obsession with fixing the past destroys his present. In Interstellar, Cooper's decision to save humanity means abandoning the people that he loves the most. And in Oppenheimer, Nolan explores the responsibility that comes after creating something powerful enough to change the world. Nolan has described The Odyssey as an opportunity to take one of humanity's oldest stories, but on a scale that had never been attempted before. He said the attraction was the chance to bring this world to life in a way that had not been previously possible. And that ambition is very much connected to his filmmaking philosophy. For Nolan, clearly, scale is not just about size. Scale is about making an audience feel the weight of an idea. The same question keeps appearing: what happens after the victory? Because history usually remembers the achievement. It remembers the invention and it remembers the hero. But Nolan is fascinated by the people left carrying the consequences. And this is exactly why The Odyssey makes sense as his most recent film. Homer's Odyssey is essentially the psychological cost of surviving something that changes you forever. Odysseus is not presented simply as a traditional warrior hero. His greatest weapon was his intelligence, his ability to adapt, his ability to survive. And Nolan is asking the uncomfortable question here: what if that survival itself becomes the thing that damages everyone around you? Odysseus wins the Trojan War and he becomes a legend. But while history celebrates that victory, the people closest to him experience something else. Penelope spent years protecting Ithaca. She has become a leader, a strategist, and survivor in her own right. And Hathaway's performance is powerful because Penelope is not defined only by her loyalty. She's defined by everything that she's had to endure. Then there's Telemachus, a son who grows without knowing his father. The man returning home is not the same man who left. So the emotional question becomes, does the child owe loyalty to a parent who is absent for a greater purpose? Or does absent create wounds that even love cannot immediately fix? Most versions of The Odyssey celebrate the journey, but Nolan examines the damage caused by this journey. The monsters in this are not just physical obstacles, they represent consequences. Every choice Odysseus makes creates another problem, every victory creates another cost. And they represent something that Nolan has always been interested in, the fact that humans cannot always control the consequences of their actions. You can have good intentions, you can believe you're doing the right thing, but your choices still affect other people. Matt Damon's performance in this works because he does not play Odysseus as an untouchable legend. He plays him as a man carrying the weight of what he has experienced. The physical commitment required to bring this world to life was on another level. Matt Damon describes The Odyssey as the hardest movie he's ever done by far, and nothing even comes close, which is a remarkable statement to make considering his career includes films like Saving Private Ryan, the Bourne franchise, and The Martian. And the reason becomes clear when you hear about some of the practical challenges behind the film's biggest moments. Damon spoke about the sequence where the shades ride from the sand, revealing that the effect was achieved with performers physically buried beneath the sand, with hidden breathing equipment, while safety teams monitored each person and strict timing systems were put in place throughout the entire shoot. So as the audience, we see a supernatural scene from Greek mythology, but what was happening behind the camera is an incredible feat of coordination, trust, and practical filmmaking. And this is a perfect example of Nolan's approach to filmmaking. He doesn't want the actors to just imagine the reality of the world, he wants them to experience it. And then whatever the actors are experiencing while shooting this, the audience also experiences while watching it. Nolan uses Ludwig's sound and music to immerse us in this storytelling and in this film. The score and the sound design help to create a world that feels ancient, dangerous, and unpredictable. So the goal is not just to make the mythology look impressive, it's to make you feel the weight of the journey. And I felt it, especially with the music, the shots that were so beautiful. I remember being in the cinema like, Nolan is their daddies. He's actually their daddies when it comes to shooting. I will say though, the fact that all the actors were famous people did take away the believability away a little from me. I think the person I was most impressed by in this entire film was the actress that plays Cersei. You'll see why when you watch it. But ultimately, The Odyssey feels like the conclusion of a conversation that Nolan has been having for decades. He's always been fascinated by extraordinary people, people who achieve impossible things, people who change history. I guess in essence himself, because he's changing history with this film. But he's equally fascinated by what those achievements leave behind. This film asks, is a victory still a victory if the people closest to you have to suffer for it? Can someone truly return home after becoming someone different? Can a person be forgiven for the consequences of choices they believed were necessary? This is the uncomfortable truth that Nolan keeps returning to. The choices we make never belong only to us. They belong to everyone who has to live with them as well. And this is what makes the Odyssey such a fascinating Christopher Nolan film. It's not just about the journey home, it's about what that journey takes from you. Anyway, that's all from me. This is really long, but I hope you sat through it. I will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye.